people expect achievements too soon. I think you first got to realize that it's important to play the long game. Everyone's heart is different. If it's hard for you, just go and do it. So I'm a big believer of having no plan B. I think if you have a plan B, when things aren't going well, you will inevitably take it. It's your responsibility to make that first movement forward. And then what happens is one person joins you and goes, oh, well, that's an awesome idea, mate. Right, this is brilliant.
Welcome to the Hard Way podcast with Joe DeSena, founder and CEO of Spartan Races. We're teaching you how to overcome your obstacles in your life the same way we teach our 10 million plus Spartans to overcome obstacles on the course, with insight from the smartest, most accomplished experts from every corner of the world. Get ready to elevate your life today.
Joe DeSena, CEO and founder of Spartan, and host of the Hard Way podcast. I have got the ultimate hard guy. I know that sounds a little weird. Sean Conway. Check this lunatic out. Makes me look like a complete wimp. He decides to bike around the world. Tell me if I get this right, Sean. Bike around the world. Pretty much everything's going great. It's just, sunshine and roses. And then you get to the United States, somebody's staring at a phone while they're driving. They run you over, broke your spine. You're in the hospital. The doctors say you're done. Crutches, wheelchair, it's over. So you sign up for 105 Ironman. In 105 days, you get it done.
Yeah, I did quite a lot of stuff in between those two things, but I also carried on cycling around the world, actually, which was good for my mental health because I felt like I needed to carry on. Probably wasn't so good for my physical health, if I'm honest.
So you got that done. And then you were bored, so you wrote 8 books.
Yeah, I love writing. And I nearly didn't start. Like when I finished cycling around the world, I was like, not another round the world cycle book. And then my mate Dave, good old Dave, everyone has a mate Dave, he's like, mate, just write it for your future grandkids. Don't forget about who buys it and, just write it for them. I was like, that's all the inspiration I needed. So yeah, I've been at it for 14 years now.
Here's the toughest question you've ever been asked. What are the names of those 8 books so folks can find them? Can you rattle them off?
Yeah, I have Cycling the Earth, Swimming Britain, Cycling Land's End to John O'Groats, Running Land's End to John O'Groats, Big Mile Cycling, a kid's book called Tempura's Treasure, World Cycling Strip Bear, and my last one is Iron 105, about the 105 Ironman in a row. So
little selfish plug on my part. So I was in a bad car accident in 2004. My buddy fell asleep while we were driving and hit a tree. I went out the window. My leg was ripped out of my hip, and same story. They told me you're done, and I signed up for a whole host of Ironman. I knocked out a bunch of them, and I thought I was the toughest guy in the world. And my wife was pregnant, and we were in Switzerland, and I think I was on my 14th Ironman that year or whatever, and pounding my chest what a tough dude I am. And there was a guy behind me from Italy. I heard him talking, and somebody was translating, and he was doing 50 in 50 days or something. And I was so pissed. Because I was like, I guess I'm done. I guess there's always somebody better, right? So then from him, Iron Cowboy goes out and knocks out 100. You decide to do 105. I guess somebody's going to wake up and do 1,000.
Yeah, well, interestingly, someone broke my record, Jonas Deichmann, a German guy. He's taken it up to 120. And then there's a pro triathlete at the moment who attempted it and bailed on day 70, 2 weeks ago. And he says he's going to reattempt. So who knows? But yeah, I think someone will do a Euro then one day. And I think America's the best place for it. I've thought about this a lot, actually. You can find a road with a spider web a town with a pool with a spider web of roads, and play the tailwind game a little bit and run at the end and then jump in the van to the RV to get back, or find a nice flat route. My course was terrible. In the 112 miles, I had 75 potential stop to zero junctions. So every mile or 2 miles, I'm going down to 1 mile an hour, spiking the power, and that just pokes a hole in the bag of sand, and by the end of the day, that bag of sand's empty. All those little 250 watt, 300 watt spikes. Just ruined my legs, really. So I didn't make it easy for myself, but I wanted to be near my family. I've got 2 young boys. So yeah, that's why I did it here.
How old are your boys now?
5 and 3, and they were 4 and 2 when I did the Ironman. So they were missing daddy, and although I was sending videos to their school and their nursery, so they knew daddy was doing something cool. But yeah, the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, it was heartbreaking because my eldest especially every time I finished, because by the end, I was fast enough to see them before they went to bed for about half an hour. Yeah, my eldest was like, "Oh, Daddy, is your challenge finished now so you can play with me?" And I was like, "Oh, my heart was breaking." But yeah, I mean, that's just all part of it, really. I mean, I think most Ironman triathletes are fathers and mothers as well. So it's not like I'm trying to, get out the little smallest violin just for me type thing. But yeah, it was hard though.
Now that you've trained and gotten ready, we got to get you out for like a Tough Mudder or a Spartan for like 300 days in a row or something really challenging.
Don't get those ideas in my head. I'm a monkey terrier, and I love being both. The monkey in me just like tries loads of different things and breaks stuff just to fix it. And I have to do stuff with my hands, building things, fixing old cars and, woodwork and steel work and that. But I also have a terrier in me, and the terrier has one job, which is to chase things. And when someone has an idea, and if the terrier in me decides, right, that ball's been thrown, there's nothing I can do. Like, honestly, I had a terrier and it would chase the ball 100% of the time, no matter what. And I'm the same. If someone's put an idea in my head and the terrier's like, right, we're going for this, I might as well just do it, because it's easier for me to do it than not do it. So my wife, it finds me infuriating,
We had a Jack Russell that I named Sir Ernest Shackleton. I gave him to my friend because my wife couldn't take it anymore because he is a terrier. And so I know exactly what you're saying. What's your suggestion for folks out there that are listening or watching this that just can't find their terrier? They're stuck.
I think people expect achievements too soon. I think that makes them not want to get hungry for something, if you know what I mean. I think you first got to realize that it's important to play the long game. So if you're thinking maybe I want to sign up for an Ironman, maybe plan it for next year. Maybe don't plan it for the summer. I mean, you could probably do it for the summer, and if that gets you excited, then go for it. But what I think people fail is they don't respect the journey enough to get to the end, and I think that's important for me. And I've suffered from that loads. Like, I've failed so many things. Like, my across Europe cycle record took 2 attempts. My running the length of Britain took 2 attempts. My Iron 105 took 2 attempts. Because I'm the terrier in me sometimes get too excited, right? But I think you've just got to dabble in stuff, just try it, like, be inquisitive. And then once you start seeing a bit of results, that's when I find the terrier suddenly goes, oh, I was going to do couch to 5K. I reckon I could definitely do 10K now. And then that's when I find the terrier goes in me, and goes like, right, let's go for it.
It's funny you say that, because since I'm a kid, I would meet young kids that I would try to motivate to help me run a business or whatever it may be. And what I would hear so often is, well, I'm trying to figure out what I like, or I haven't found that thing yet. And my answer to that was, well, just start doing something, because that leads to something. And before you know it, you meet a tribe, and your tribe is doing something that you get it just happens.
Totally.
Right?
I mean, there's 10.5 pillars of endurance that I've sort of put together. And community is the 10th one. As you say, if you can find your tribe of people, you get this, what I call the sort of snowball of life. You're the snowflake, you're aimlessly floating around, not really knowing what to do, and you land on the ground. You'll melt unless you move forward yourself. You will just disappear. Now, it's your responsibility to make that first movement forward. And then what happens is one person joins you and goes, oh, well, that's an awesome idea, mate. Right, this is brilliant. I'm going to join your little snowball. And then eventually more people, as you start getting more momentum and proving to the naysayers, because, a lot of people, the people who said, oh, Sean, are you sure you can do that? Or maybe it's not a good idea. Half of them are jealous, and the other half are sort of trying to protect me from failure, which is just terrible. That's the worst advice ever. Like, I'd rather fail at trying to do something amazing and difficult than lower my ambition just to increase my chance of success. Like, that's a slippery slope to misery, right? So yeah, you find your tribe, and you say, as you say, like, it just builds that momentum. And then all of a sudden you just this unstoppable avalanche. And then that's when life's good, that's the fun bit. That's what you want to get to. And it takes time and hard work and, resilience and all that. But I think people give up before they get to the fun momentum bit,
Most people give up. Most don't make it very far. And I'm convinced that those that keep going have a different perspective. Like, maybe they were Eastern Europeans and grew up in a really tough life. And so that quitting moment where most would quit, they're like, this is like a cakewalk. I don't know why you're quitting. Like, this is no big deal.
Yeah, you've got to actively try and do more hard things in life. I think that's just so important for everyone. Everyone's heart is different. If it's hard for you, just go and do it. Please, like ice bath, just do it. Go for that run. And it's such a cliche, and it's hard for me to say and try. Like if it was a pill, I think everyone said if it was a pill, like everyone would have it. They would take it straight away. But because it involves a bit of coldness, a bit of tiredness, a bit of motivation, and a bit of structure, they go, oh well, I just don't want to do it. That said, though, I think a lot of people are doing it. I think the world is probably more geared to people doing stuff like, that's why, 20 years ago, if you did an Ironman, or a Spartan race, you were like, whoa, well, you're amazing, you're superhuman. And now it's just growing and growing and growing because people love pushing themselves and getting that feeling of achievement from either going quicker or doing something longer or, traveling around the world, doing different locations. So yeah, it's just, as I said, you just want to shake some people who don't do it and go like, I can't believe you can't see how good this is for you,
Do me a favor, walk people through, like when you were at your 72nd Ironman or your 6th book or whatever, and you were human just like us and you wanted to quit. I know those moments occurred. And the methodology, the practice you went through to stay in the game so that they could apply it to their own lives.
So I'm a big believer of having no plan B. I think if you have a plan B, when things aren't going well, you will inevitably take it. So for example, when I failed the first attempt at the Iron 105, I only got to day 7. Day 7, how embarrassing, right? I was going to do 100, the record I needed to break was 102 to get the record, and I got to day 7. There were quite a few people who sort of said to me, oh, well, Sean, what's your plan B? If you try again and it's not going well and you time out on the 17 hour, will you maybe move to half irons, for example, and get the half iron record, which actually is less than 105. I don't know what it is, but it's less anyway. And I was like, no, definitely not. Like, there's no plan B, For me, no plan B. I'm also not celebrating the small wins along the way. I think for me, that's personally dangerous. I think it's good to acknowledge some of the small wins, put a notch in the bed and go, sweet. So for example, on the Ironmans, when I got to day 21, I got the British record. So no one in Britain had done more than 20. I could have made a big hoo-ha of that. I could have quit at 21 and probably still walked down my local high street as a hero. When I got to 61, I got the European record. Again, I could have made a huge thing about that. But for me, it was 102 or nothing. It's 102 or nothing. Like, there was no, because had I gone, oh yeah, I'm the British record holder, and then on day 30, it was like, oh, it's not going well, I picked up a niggle. I might have gone, you know what, I'm throwing in the towel and I'm just going to celebrate the fact I've got the British record. So those two things, I think, for me, is have these sort of non-negotiables and really believe them. So I got up at 4:29 every day to do the Ironman. 4:29. It was 4:34, but I found I was getting in the pool at 1 minute past 5, and I was like, nah, I need to win the day. So I'm going to move my clock to 4:29. And I can honestly say I did not question it. I put it in the same category as brushing your teeth or putting clothes on when you leave the house. Like, you just really got to write your non-negotiables and then just believe wholeheartedly on what they are. And then I just had a whole list for the Ironmans of non-negotiables, and every day I nailed them. I needed to drink 300 milliliters of full-fat cream every day to keep the calories on. I needed to have the hot water, hot bath with Epsom salts every night. I needed to sleep with earplugs in and an eye mask so that the kids didn't wake me up in the middle of the night. I needed to eat a packet of crisps and a banana at every food stop, and then a few other things. But those were sort of my two main things for the electrolytes. So I just had this long list of must-dos, and I think it's important if anyone has a big goal or a big idea, whatever it is, physical, business, whatever, write a list of where you want to go and the non-negotiables you need to get there, and then write them down. I'm very visual. I write everything down next to my bed. My whole office here is a blackboard, so I literally write everything on the wall. And then I find if you do that and it's there written down on post-it notes, whatever, you're more likely to sort of get into that habit, really,
It's interesting, as I listen to you on the non-negotiables, I have those too. And I'm thinking what it does is it removes the decision process. Like, if I was to decide in the morning when the alarm goes off, I might decide to take a few more minutes in bed or to not wake up exactly. But I removed that decision, right? You got to remove the decisions.
And it's great, and it's interesting. So for the Ironmans, I used a coach for the first time to write me a training plan on Training Peaks. And he said I was the best person he's ever coached for completing each session with a green tick. Because when he wrote that training plan for me, I was like, okay, well, that's a non-negotiable. Great. Tony's told me to do it. I'm going to do it. No questions. And that worked. It totally worked. So again, it depends on how you work and what motivates you. I got a massive dopamine hit when I got the green tick on Training Peaks, so that helped. But yeah, you're right. Just remove the decision. If put a plan together and just stick to the plan. Even if it's not optimal, if you want to run a marathon or do an Ironman, go online, find a plan.
What people don't realize, I think, is that the human brain is designed to not do the work. It's designed to protect us from basically dying out there in the wild. And so, doing 105 Ironman or one, it's too much. So the brain's going to tell us at 4:28 in the morning not to get up. So if you think about it, write it down on your blackboard, like you said, etch it in stone, and then there's no discussion with your brain.
Totally. And then you've also got to find what's the motivation to etch it in stone as well. So that's also super important. I sort of come up with what I call these dangling carrots. What are the carrots? Dangle as many carrots as you can in front of you. Like, I think it's important, So let's say you want to sign up for your first ever Ironman or Spartan race or whatever. First thing I do, tell all your mates. Because then you become accountable. Start the Just Giving page to raise money for charity. Then you become accountable. I'm not a big fan of buying really expensive kit because I don't think you need it. I think you can get by with really sort of normal kit without having to, mortgage your house for a pair of Vaporflies or whatever, right? But there's something to be said for going out and actually investing in the bike or the shoes, because then all of a sudden, right, you're a car, spend money on this now. Get a trainer, whatever, carrots you want to dangle, throw as many of them in the mix as possible so that when that alarm goes off, you're lying in bed and going, well, if I've not invested anything in it, bought the bike, you've got the trainer, you've told your mates, you've got the Just Giving page, you've done all of that stuff, you can be sure that'll be extra motivation for you to sort of crack on with it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that sort of extra element to it, just find those carrots and just find as many as possible, Another one for me is just being a cool dad to my future teenage boys, which I've been told is going to be a waste of time, but never mind, I'm going to try. I have this vivid picture in my brain of, when the kids are teenagers, I'm sitting in the thing and, and my lad goes, I'm going to run a 10K or something. I go, all right, go. And he comes back and he's like, oh, that was painful. I'm like, you don't know pain, boy. I can't wait for that exact moment. I hope it happens.
I love that. That came out of my mouth this morning. My wife laughed. My daughter was being driven 2 blocks to school. And I said, I used to walk a half mile and there was a murderer all over the newspapers loose in our neighborhood. It was 1970s, My wife laughed. How do people find you?
Instagram, I guess, Sean Conway Adventure. If you just search Sean Conway, 3 documentaries on Amazon Prime, 8 books. Again, they're all on Amazon as well. Instagram, YouTube, everywhere, really. So yeah, come and find me and cheer me on when I choose my next silly thing.
Well, thanks for coming on. You're awesome. You're a true inspiration. And let's go out and buy some books, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.